If the city is down, I like to help it get better.
I'm working. I'm surviving without being on the street.
Deconstruction is the means, but the end is creating jobs, really. That's what we're after.
We're getting individuals together. We're giving them reasons why they shouldn't commit this act.
The young people on April 27th took the opportunity to show the bad side. But the young people that I'm seeing, they want a chance to turn that around.
Baltimore is my adopted home. I moved here more than a decade ago and quickly fell in love with its charming neighborhoods, its rich history, and its welcoming residents. Good evening. I'm America Tonight's Adam May. As a reporter who covered the death of Freddie Gray, the rioting that broke out afterwards, and the record-breaking summer of bloodshed and murder, it struck me that too many other stories in Baltimore are going untold. Stories of people trying to solve root problems, problems like poverty, joblessness, and drug addiction. Tonight, we spotlight the inspiring stories, the innovative ideas from those who are trying to save Baltimore.
I didn't think I was going to be able to do it, but I love it. It was challenging, something I'd never done before.
Bernadette Buxton recently celebrated her first anniversary working in deconstruction, tearing down some of Baltimore's vast stretches of abandoned row houses.
Just the drill is not as easy as some people think. To drill a door is certain ways you got to do it. Just to take out a nail is certain ways you got to do it. It look easy, but it's not. I learned a lot about the tools now.
The 52-year-old woman from East Baltimore didn't plan on working in deconstruction. She was a teacher's assistant until the evils of the streets and the temptation to make quick cash ruined her life.
How did you become unemployable?
I was working in the school system, and then I had left to take care of somebody, and then I got into selling drugs again and didn't go back to work. And then I started using.
What kind of drugs?
Heroin.
Heroin.
Yeah.
What did heroin do to your life?
It tore my life apart. I mean, literally tore it apart. Family-wise, everything. I lost custody of my kids.
How old were your kids when you lost custody of them?
7 and 8, 6 and 5.
At rock bottom, she decided to go clean. But like tens of thousands of other ex-felons in Baltimore, she found herself hampered by a criminal record. It took years for her to land this job, part of an innovative social program called Details, run by Humanum, a nonprofit focused on economic development.
You waited a long time for this job.
Yes, I had filled out so many applications trying to get back to work because of my background.
No one would hire you?
Nope.
How's that feel in your heart when you can't support yourself?
I was a little bit broken because I didn't want to go back to the streets to make money that way.
Buxton leaves her house early to make it to work by 7:30, walking through streets ravaged by drugs and joblessness, lined with abandoned homes, some of the 16,000 empty properties in Baltimore.
Deconstruction is the means, but the end is creating jobs, really. That's what we're after.
Until last year, Max Pollock worked in a cubicle at a D.C. think tank. He was drawn to the Details program, seeing a city in need of radical urban renewal. Nearly a quarter of Baltimore's population lives below the poverty line. Unemployment in this area of East Baltimore is running at nearly 30%.
If you have these dual problems of high unemployment and poverty, and you have vacancy, our approach working with the city has been, well, let's solve one of these problems with the other.
I've lived in this city for a long time. Yeah. You drive through town and you just see block after block of vacant homes. How is this solving that issue?
The vacant houses that you see in Baltimore are less, they're less the problem itself, and there may be more of a symptom of problems that have existed in Baltimore for the past, 50 years.
They're what we see.
Yeah, it's right. It's
What do they symbolize?
they symbolize the loss of industry. They symbolize the loss of jobs. Institutional neglect, disinvestment,
Generational poverty.
white flight, poverty that is embedded within certain neighborhoods.
Removing empty homes, just part of the mission. So is rebuilding broken lives. Like Bernadette Buxton, 70% of detail staffers have a conviction on their record.
What does the city get out of having you guys hire felons?
The city gets a couple things. One is that it creates way more jobs. So these were people that otherwise might not be working, and we pay them, a living wage with benefits. With the city awarding us contracts, it's actually putting money back into the community.
Johnny Washington says he spent years looking for work, held back by 2 stints in prison, racked up during his time dealing drugs.
What happens when you apply?
They keep my background, my felonies on my record.
Do they call you back? Do you just not hear anything?
I don't hear anything at all. And I call them back, and they tell me my background didn't go through.
How do you think that's impacting people with a felony record? The fact that they can't find jobs? How does that impact folks?
They make them go back out here on the streets and start hustling and doing whatever they got to do to take care of their family.
Now with details for 2 years, Johnny has worked his way up to crew leader. He recently completed work on this site, tearing down 10 row houses on Bradford Street, just a few blocks from where he says he used to sell heroin.
So did these houses you tore down look like these ones, John?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they're 2-story houses that were in
Two-story
here.
row houses, yeah.
What kind of stuff do you find in these houses?
We found a little bit of everything: dead rats, drug needles, trash, all types of stuff being in them. You just got to be careful when you go in, especially in the basements of the houses.
Aesthetics aren't the only reason to tear down Baltimore's urban rot. These shells also drive down neighborhood property values and provide a haven for the drug epidemic Washington used to be a part of.
Do you get paid okay?
It's more than what I had before I got this job, so it's a blessing.
Not as much money as you made drug dealing, though.
No, but it feels good to go with your go and cash your paycheck and seeing the pay stub. It feel good. It feel good to me.
Our first project we created 24 to 26 jobs, I think. So that's people bringing home a paycheck every day. It's people going to the corner store on lunch to spend money there. So you really can look at it sort of as like a micro investment strategy in certain neighborhoods.
What kind of work have you guys done in here then already?
So in this one, we've basically gutted, the building, leaving a shell essentially.
Deconstruction, the painstaking salvaging of wood and bricks, is more expensive than simply bulldozing the homes. So to help pay for the program, Details came up with another innovative solution: reselling the materials. Their biggest moneymaker, old bricks.
Most people would look at this and they would just see a nondescript brick wall in an alley in Baltimore. But we know that, for every one of these bricks, if you have enough of them right here, that's an hour of work that we can pay somebody.
From what I used to be, from what I used to do, look at me now. I'm working, I'm surviving without being on the streets, selling drugs, hanging on corners, getting high. When I say look at me, it's a different look that people look at me now. They see somebody that's achieved something.
Do you see people looking at you different now?
Yes, I get a lot of compliments that I didn't get before. Strangers, especially being a woman, walking down the street with a hard hat on. You go, girl, That put a smile on my face. It really does.
Do you think you're helping save Baltimore?
I do. In my heart, I really do. I'm glad to be a part of something that is growing, and I want to keep the door open for the next person behind me.
Once part of the problems with Baltimore, Buxton is now repairing it, one brick at a time.
Details is now expanding But with 16,000 abandoned buildings across this city, there is a long way to go. When we come back, one doctor trying to cure Baltimore's many ailments, finding unique allies. And later, why was a glass building right in the middle of April's riots left virtually untouched? Welcome back. For one woman, saving Baltimore is actually part of her job description. She's the city's new health commissioner, Dr. Lena Wen, a Rhodes Scholar and a Harvard Fellow, bringing fresh ideas to the city's stubborn problems. At a late summer cookout, Dr. Lena Wen gathers with some Baltimore city workers. They're on a mission to stop an onslaught of murders.
You're putting yourself on the line every day.
Since becoming the city's health commissioner in January, Dr. Wen has faced two crises, an epidemic of heroin use and a spike in homicides. Dr. Wen may be new to Baltimore, but she's no stranger to the urban realities of drugs and violence.
I grew up in some pretty rough neighborhoods in Los Angeles, in Compton and East LA. We experienced gun violence nearly every day. Growing up, I felt unsafe walking onto our streets. My family suffered from drug addiction, from homelessness, and I also saw every day the same problems I think that our community faces here in Baltimore.
The big story that always makes headlines out of Baltimore, and especially the last few months, has been violence. How does this homicide rate connect with the problems facing this city from the health department perspective?
We see violence as a public health issue, which means that there is a way to prevent it, there is a way to intervene, there is a way to treat it, and there's a way for us to not just see a person as the perpetrator, and this is the good guy and the bad guy, but rather we're all victims of trauma. How can we address that trauma together?
One way Dr. Wen's office is trying to address that trauma is through the Safe Streets program.
Safe streets, safe streets.
Where veterans of urban life try to convince Baltimore's youth not to let their conflicts escalate into gun violence.
I know what you come from, you know what I come from.
Greg Marshburn runs Safe Streets outreach in the neighborhood of Mondawmin, right near the scene of rioting after Freddie Gray's death in April.
What we're doing is mediating conflicts. We're getting individuals together. We're giving them reasons why they shouldn't commit this act, because at the same life, people don't realize that when they take a life, they're taking theirs also, because your life is never the same again.
What gives you street cred?
What gives me credibility is that I lived the life already. I've robbed, I've stole, I've broken houses, I've shot, I've been shot.
Stop shooting, stop killing.
That's right. You know the motto.
Safe Streets is a small program, limited to only 4 locations and some 20 outreach workers in this city of 620,000. A Baltimore that has seen more than 200 murders so far this year, a number higher than New York City, which has 13 times the population. According to Marshburn, this small program is having a big impact in some of Baltimore's roughest neighborhoods. How effective has the program been? We keep hearing about the record homicides here the last couple of months.
In July, when they broke the 40-year record, Safe Streets had 1.
You only had 1 murder in the area that you guys work in.
1
during
murder.
Baltimore's worst month in 40 years.
1 murder. So
why not expand this across the whole city?
That's my question.
There are so many issues that didn't just start overnight. Drug addiction, mental health, and mass incarceration and housing discrimination. These are not new issues. They're public policy failures.
The root of many of the city's problems is drug addiction. Baltimore has been called the heroin capital of America.
There are 19,000 people here in our city who are addicted or using heroin.
How's it affecting the city?
There's not one issue that is not affected by heroin. I talk to 8-year-olds on the street who are telling me that they don't see the purpose of going to school because Why should they wake up in the morning when nobody in their family wakes up because they're addicted to heroin? Heroin isn't just an individual disease. It affects the entire family. It affects the community, and it's very much ingrained in our city.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Dr. Wen's efforts to address the drug epidemic afflicting Baltimore aren't just focused on prevention, but also rapid response.
There is one overriding reason for us to be here, which is to save lives.
She has put in place another health initiative.
Then we pull the drug out.
An innovative plan to provide every single resident of Baltimore, not just addicts, with naloxone, a drug that can reverse a heroin overdose.
And then you also screw the medication.
Dr. Wen showed me just how easy it is to administer. Simply lean back and inhale like a nasal spray.
This is the equivalent to me of having a defibrillator for heart attacks. We have defibrillators in airports, we have defibrillators in office buildings. Everyone should have the ability to save someone's life. Our overdose rates have reached epidemic proportions. We have more people dying in our city from overdose than we do from homicide.
For Dr. Lena Wen, saving lives is saving Baltimore, perhaps the most challenging city in America to practice public health.
And when we come back, a return to the scene of last April's unrest, to a safe haven in the midst of chaos. Welcome back. It was a terrible day back on April 27th here in Baltimore when frustration boiled over after the death of Freddie Gray and rioting broke out on streets across this city. But amidst all of the chaos, we found some glimmers of hope. A glass building that didn't shatter, filled with children working for a better future.
Darrell Simmons has to walk through some of the most dangerous streets in America to reach a place where he finds safety and security, the Enoch Pratt Free Library in West Baltimore.
Somebody got shot over there the other day. Like, when it's shootings, that's why I stay in here. I feel safer in here than out there.
The library sits at the corner of Pennsylvania and North Avenues, the epicenter of unrest back in April. That's when protests turned to riots after the death of Freddie Gray, killed after police allegedly gave him a rough ride in a van. Rioters looted and destroyed dozens of businesses. The images broadcast around the world. Ever since, violence has engulfed Baltimore. June and July have been the most violent months in decades. The city recorded its 200th murder in August.
I'm scared sometimes, like in certain neighborhoods, I stay in the house. I don't like coming outside at night. I don't even go outside at night. It's not like a shooting won't happen, but I just don't trust it.
That sense of fear eases inside the library, where 11-year-old Darrell can play video games.
Trying to play turbo racing now.
Eat a free lunch, and see other worlds open up before him.
It's like when you read books, you learn new things every day. I want to keep my mind ready for the next grade. Because, you know, over the summer, kids forget, like, we forget stuff. So I like to keep fresh in my mind.
He spends almost every single summer day at the library, while his father, Darrell Simmons Sr., sells used movies down the block.
This area here, infamous the last couple of months.
Yeah.
And your kid is down here in this environment. How do you think that impacts him?
You can keep your child away from bad elements. You can't keep him away completely, but you can tell him what not to do and try to instill in him a sense of purpose in life.
Poverty, joblessness, and drug addiction have all weighed heavily on this neighborhood. But one thing we heard again and again as we reported this story was that the violence and unrest do not tell the full story of this community, at the heart of which lies the library.
Come on in.
Mulaney Townsend Diggs is branch manager.
We see the real side of the community. We see the side that says this library needs to remain in this neighborhood. This library is servicing young people, is servicing adults. People who don't have jobs can come in and get on the computer and apply for jobs.
I mean, the reality is, you can walk down there and you can buy heroin.
Right.
The reality is, you can go that way and get shot.
Right.
You can go there, change your future.
Change your future, change your life.
You were inside that building on the day of the riot. Tell me what you saw out here. How would you describe it?
It was mass chaos to me. Had people who were looting, burning police vehicles.
What was in your heart as you saw this?
I was sad. Sad for the young people because I felt like, they thought that was the best way of getting their voice heard at the time. They didn't have another way to make it known that they were tired and frustrated, but feeling like there had to be another way.
On that day, Mulaney Townsend Diggs locked the doors of the library and kept the patrons inside until the streets calmed.
People on the inside did not want to go out. They did not want to go out there. They felt more comfortable being inside the library.
Despite its big glass windows looking over North Avenue, the library suffered very little damage in April's riot.
I mean, it was amazing to see that it remained untouched. We were grateful for that.
You opened up the day after the riots. Kids come in here and they're reading books. As broken glass is all over this city and police are up and down this street still. What do you think brought those kids back in here?
I think at the end of the day, they felt like this was a place that cares about them, puts them first. I think the community saw that, this isn't just about being a library, but this is about a safe haven.
Even when everything was going crazy outside, the library was still here and it was still open.
Jacqueline Alston brings her sons Mason and Ted here 2 to 3 times a week to participate in a summer reading program.
When we walk in the door, it's like coming home. Regardless of what you think you see outside, no matter, how many people you see standing there, the library means something to the people here.
The national media has seen an image of this neighborhood on television for the last few months. And it's an image of poverty, it's an image of drug use, it's an image of violence.
Yes, all of those things do exist. They don't just exist here, they exist many places. But there's also love here. There's also all of this, my family and families just like ours. And there's a library. This is where we come to see the other side of all of the other things that may be happening.
For the first time this summer, the library has also offered free lunches to children.
The library saw the need to join other places that are offering summer meals to children. There are children who don't have food at home.
How are these programs setting your son up for success?
Man, he makes it a little easier for me. He's getting nutritious stuff from that up there that's healthy for him. The reading program, I don't have to sit down with him and say, did you read a book today? He's already done it.
The young people on April 27th took the opportunity to show the bad side, to loot, to cause fires. But the young people that I'm seeing, right, they want a chance to turn that around.
There's a whole other side of Baltimore trying to save it.
Right, so it's a movement. It's a movement to make a difference. It's a movement to make changes. It's a renewal, a way of making what we want to come to reality. And I think the young people have a place in that. They deserve a place in that.
When I get older, I plan on helping the community, like Baltimore get better as itself.
What do you want to do when you grow up? Do you know?
It's either be a doctor, because I like helping people, or I like to help the city. If the city is down, I like to help it get better.
Achieving this will be a long journey down a road of danger and temptation. But at least there's one place the corner library offering hope.
And that's our special report, Saving Baltimore. I'm Adam May. Thanks for watching. Be sure to join us next time for more America Tonight.